Royal Delight Cake Shop in Woost, too. Abuja sparkled with gold lights and glass counters. Sweet aromas floated through the air as wealthy customers in fine clothes placed orders for expensive cakes. It was a place where money spoke loudly, and those without it often felt invisible. At the back of the line, Grandma Ebele Nwankwo, a frail old woman in a simple wrapper and scarf, clutched her small handbag nervously. She moved slowly, trying to peek past the tall customers in front of her. Her hands trembled, but her eyes remained kind. The sales lady behind the counter sneered. "Old woman, if you cannot afford these cakes, please step aside. These are not cheap." Her voice rang through the shop like a whip. Some customers turned and stared, while others giggled under their breath. A young man behind Grandma Ebele brushed her shoulder roughly, almost sending her to the floor. But before she could fall, a firm hand caught her. "I've got you, Mama," said Chinwe Okafor, a slim young woman in her mid-20s, wearing a neat but simple dress. She guided the old woman gently to a chair by the wall. Chinwe's dark eyes glowed with both respect and quiet strength. The sales lady rolled her eyes. "Next time, don't block the line. This is a luxury shop, not your local market." Chinwe's voice was calm, but it carried weight. "Madam, please speak with respect. She is an elder." The shop grew still. The other customers shifted uncomfortably. Chinwe opened her small bag, brought out a bottle of water, and offered it to Grandma Ebele. "Please drink a little, Mama." Tears welled up in the old woman's eyes as she whispered, "Thank you, my child. God bless you." Chinwe gave her a small, reassuring smile. "Respect is free, Mama. Nobody should be shamed because of their pocket." The shop fell silent, and for the first time, the arrogance in the air was replaced with quiet shame. A few customers bowed their heads. Chinwe's simple kindness had broken the pride in the room. When Grandma Ebele felt steady again, Chinwe asked gently, "Mama, do you have transport fare?" "I'm fine," the old woman said, though her eyes wavered. Without another word, Chinwe slipped a few naira notes into her hand. "Please take this. The sun is hot. Go home and rest." Grandma Ebele's lips quivered as she held the money tightly. "God will not forget you, my daughter." Outside, the Abuja afternoon glowed warm on the glass windows. Chinwe climbed onto her small, well-kept motorcycle, strapped her bag across her chest, and placed her helmet on. She waved. "Be safe, Mama." Grandma Ebele stood watching as Chinwe rode away, her heart touched by the young woman's dignity. At that moment, she knew this girl was different. As Grandma Ebele lingered outside the Royal Delight Cake Shop, still clutching the folded notes Chinwe had pressed into her palm, the hum of Abuja traffic surrounded her. She replayed the moment in her mind, the young woman's steady eyes, her gentle hands, and her courage to speak truth in a place where pride ruled. Just then, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb. The door opened smoothly, and a tall, neatly dressed young man stepped out. His posture was confident, his movements graceful, his suit tailored to perfection. His eyes, however, were not filled with arrogance. They brimmed with concern. "Grandma!" he called, hurrying toward her. It was Obinna Nwankwo, her only grandson and the heir to Royal Threads Group, one of Abuja's largest fashion empires. The wind tugged at Grandma Ebele's scarf as she turned, startled. "Obinna, what are you doing here?" she asked. "You shouldn't be out alone," he said softly, taking her hands as if checking for bruises. His touch was tender, his brow furrowed with worry. You are the only family I have left. Please, at least let me send a bodyguard with you." "I am fine," Grandma Ebele said with a small smile, her voice steady. "A kind girl helped me." Obinna glanced toward the road, where Chinwe's motorcycle had disappeared moments earlier. He inhaled deeply, as though trying to capture the fading presence of the mystery girl his grandmother spoke of. "I have found you a wife," Grandma Ebele said suddenly, her eyes glinting with quiet resolve. Obinna blinked in disbelief. "Grandma, not this again." He sighed, trying to mask his smile. "I just got back from the States. I haven't even taken full control of the company. Marriage is not on my mind right now." But Grandma Ebele patted his arm firmly. "You don't understand. She is kind-hearted. She has the spirit this family needs." Obinna chuckled softly, shaking his head. "If it makes you happy, I will listen. But don't start planning a wedding just yet." As he helped her into the car, Grandma Ebele's mind was already racing. She wasn't joking. For years she had watched wealth and power harden the hearts of those around her. But today, in the crowded cake shop, she had seen something different. A heart of gold hidden inside a girl from the streets. As their SUV pulled away, across town, Chinwe rode her small motorcycle through Abuja traffic, her figure steady, her spirit light. Though she didn't know it yet, the path of her life had just crossed with destiny. Far from the glittering glass walls of Wuse Tesao, life in Utako Market was rough but honest. The sound of traders calling prices, the smell of roasted corn, and the dust of passing keke riders filled the air. In the middle of it all stood Chinwe's small stall, neatly arranged like a jewel among stones. Simple gowns, fitted shirts, and skirts hung on wooden hangers. Each piece bore the mark of her careful hand. Straight seams, smooth hems, and fabrics chosen with thought. Customers often whispered that her clothes had dignity, even if they came from a humble stall. Chinwe sat behind her sewing machine, her braided hair pulled back neatly, her eyes focused as she guided fabric beneath the needle. Every stitch was more than work. It was survival. Orphaned young, she had no mother to run to, no father to lean on. She stood on her own 2 feet, shaping a life with nothing but skill, faith, and quiet resilience. Her reputation in the market was built not only on her craft, but on her kindness. When a young girl came in with torn clothes, Chinwe mended them and refused payment. "Save it for food," she said softly. If a customer could not pay in full, she allowed part payment, recording it carefully in a small worn notebook. At night, when the market was silent and shadows lengthened, Chinwe sat in her small one-room apartment. She counted coins, saved every naira, and whispered prayers to the ceiling. Her dream was simple, yet enormous. To one day design for the world, to have her clothes seen not only in the market, but on stages, runways, and in magazines. That evening, as she returned home, tired but satisfied, her old phone buzzed. It was a voice note from Grandma Ebele. "My dear Chinwe," the voice crackled, warm yet firm. "Thank you again for today. I would like us to meet again. There is someone I want you to know. He is a good person. Can we see tomorrow?" Chinwe pressed the phone to her chest for a moment, her lips curving into a small smile. After the long day, the message felt like a ray of light. She recorded her reply, her voice calm and respectful. "Yes, Mama. I am happy to hear from you. Please send me the time and place." That night, she laid out her clothes carefully, mended loose hems, and rolled her measuring tape neatly. Before sleeping, she closed her eyes and prayed softly for strength. Across town, in the towering mansion at Maitama, Grandma Ebele listened to Chinwe's gentle voice and nodded to herself. She had chosen wisely. The morning sun glimmered over Unity Fountain in Abuja, casting long shadows across the quiet cafe nearby. Chinwe arrived early, dressed simply in a neat gown she had sewn herself. Her small handbag hung across her shoulder, and though her heart pounded, her steps were steady. Inside, at a corner table, Grandma Ebele sat waiting, her face glowing with pride. Beside her stood a young man in a well-cut suit, his presence commanding yet calm. Chinwe paused for a moment when their eyes met. It was the same man she had seen outside the cake shop. "Chinwe, my dear, you came," Grandma Ebele said, warmly, reaching for her hand. "Yes, Mama." Chinwe smiled, bowing slightly. "Good morning." The young man stepped forward, extending his hand. "Good morning. I'm Obinna Nwankwo," he said, his voice kind but measured. "Chinwe Okafor," she replied softly. Their handshake was brief, but something lingered in the air, a quiet recognition neither of them could name. The waiter brought water and a tray of small meat pies. For a moment, they spoke lightly about the weather, Abuja traffic, and the incident at the cake shop. Then Grandma Ebele, never one to waste time, clasped her hands together and spoke plainly. "Chinwe, I want you to marry my grandson," she said, her voice strong and unwavering. Chinwe blinked in shock, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. "Mama, please," she said gently, her cheeks warm. "You are joking, right?" Obinna rubbed the back of his neck, trying not to smile. "My grandmother, she likes to imagine things," he said, almost shyly. "I don't even have much to offer right now. I do small hustles here and there, just trying to make ends meet." Chinwe looked at him directly and shook her head. "That is not a problem. Work is work. Respect is respect." Grandma Ebele's eyes shone with quiet triumph. "You see, Obinna, I told you she is kind." "Grandma?" Obinna chuckled softly, but there was no dismissing the truth in Chinwe's words. "Don't worry, my dear," Grandma Ebele continued, turning to Chinwe. "I will not rush you. Just get to know each other, talk, walk, share a meal, see if your hearts agree." Chinwe nodded slowly, still smiling. "Yes, Mama, we can talk." Obinna looked at her again, surprised by her calmness, her lack of pretension. "If you're free today," he said carefully, "we could start with coffee and a walk." "I'm free," Chinwe replied. They spent the next hour sharing simple things. Her life at the stall, his stories of small jobs he claimed to do, the ordinary details that revealed extraordinary sincerity. By the time they stepped outside into the warm Abuja air, Obinna found himself quietly drawn to her grace. At the cafe doorway, Grandma Ebele watched them with a satisfied smile, certain she had planted the seed of something greater than either of them could yet see. The next morning, Abuja buzzed with whispers that spread like wildfire. From beauty salons to office lobbies, traders to bankers, everyone was talking about the same thing. Royal Threads Group was launching a new program. For the first time, the prestigious fashion empire would open its doors to fresh designers, offering a chance to showcase talent and possibly earn a place in the company. When Chinwe heard the news, her heart thudded in her chest. She sat on the edge of her bed, whispering a small prayer. "Lord, even once let this be real." Her mind went back to her university days when she had graduated top of her class in fashion design. Her lecturers said she would go far, but her father's death and her mother's long illness had changed everything. Dreams had been folded into survival. Now, for the first time, It felt like those dreams might stretch open again. That evening, she laid her best designs on her small bed, a clean, fitted gown with gentle lines that moved easily, a soft shirt with perfect seams, a skirt designed to flatter different body shapes. She ironed each piece with care, clipped away stray threads, and stacked sketches neatly in a clear folder. She added small handwritten notes in plain English to explain her process, proof that her designs were not copied but born from her own hands and nights of work. Her phone buzzed with a short message. It was Obinna. "Got home safe? It was nice meeting you today." Chinwe smiled faintly and typed back, "Yes, thank you, and thank you for the tea." His reply came almost instantly, a simple smile emoji. That little gesture made her heart lighter. The next day, dressed in her neatest gown, she arrived at the tall glass building of Royal Thread's headquarters in Abuja's business district. The lobby was crowded with designers carrying folders, portfolios, and garment bags. Heels clicked against marble floors. Voices rose with tension, and ambition filled the air. Chinwe found a quiet corner seat, clutching her tote bag like a lifeline. Just then a familiar voice rang out. "Well, well, if it isn't Chinwe Okafor from our class." It was Ngozi Madu, her old classmate, dressed in a bright, expensive outfit. She smiled sharply, eyes glittering with mockery. "You came to Royal Threads with your stall work? My dear, this place is for real designers." She laughed lightly, attracting a few curious glances. Before Chinwe could respond, another voice carried across the hall. Kunle Bamidele, a flashy designer with a gold watch, was bragging loudly about his foreign trips. "Look at some people here," he sneered, pointing at a nervous young man holding a nylon bag. "This is not the market." Laughter rippled through the group around him. Chinwe lowered her eyes but kept her spine straight. She whispered to herself, "Just do your best." Then the lobby shifted. The elevator doors opened, and Amarachi Okoye, the polished daughter of a top director, stepped out with her assistants. The staff rushed to greet her, holding her files, offering her water. People moved aside like water parting for royalty. Chinwe stood a little taller, holding her folder close. The atmosphere was heavy with pride, arrogance, and fear. But in her heart, she carried something the others did not: dignity, humility, and truth. Chinwe rose with the others, her heart pounding but her steps even. She followed the stream of designers into the vast hall, its long tables glowing under soft spotlights. At the front sat a panel of judges with tablets and pens, their eyes sharp and expectant. Assistants moved quietly, handing out water and tape. "Please display your best work," a staff member announced. "Keep your area tidy. We are looking for skill, fit, and clarity of process." All around her, designers opened garment bags. Flowing gowns shimmered under the lights. Sharp jackets were laid out like armor, and sequined skirts glittered like jewels. Some designers whispered nervously while others carried themselves like royalty. Chinwe opened her tote slowly, carefully lifting her pieces one by one. First, the fitted gown with clean lines and gentle movement. Then the soft shirt with precise seams. Finally, the skirt designed to flatter all body types. She laid her sketches above them, each page neat, her handwritten notes explaining fabric choices, stitch allowances, and design solutions. A woman across from her leaned closer, whispering, "This is good." "Thank you," Chinwe replied softly, though her hands trembled slightly. She stood back, her chin lifted just enough to keep her dignity intact. The judges moved between tables, examining hems, seams, and fabrics. They asked questions. Chinwe answered simply and directly, explaining how she adjusted her patterns to make women feel comfortable and confident. Then the room shifted. The doors opened, and Amarachi Okoye entered with two assistants. They laid a long zipped bag on her table like a crown jewel. People turned, whispers rising. Amarachi smiled, slow and deliberate, as she unzipped the bag. Gasps echoed through the hall. The gown she unveiled looked exactly like Chinwe's fitted gown. The same lines, the same cut. Even the little waist-shaping Chinwe had spent nights perfecting. For a moment, Chinwe's knees weakened. The blood rushed in her ears. From the audience, Ngozi's mocking voice cut the silence. "Ha! I said it! Nothing good can come from a stall girl. She stole Amarachi's design." Laughter and murmurs spread through the hall like wildfire. Someone shouted, "How can a market girl claim this?" Chinwe swallowed hard. Her voice was low but steady. "This is my design. I have sketches, patterns, and samples. I worked on it for weeks." Amarachi's polished smile never faltered. "She is lying," she said smoothly. "This design is mine. She copied it." The judge's eyes hardened. "Young lady, plagiarism is a serious offense. If this is a stunt, you will be blacklisted from the entire industry." The words struck like stones. Chinwe's chest tightened. Her hands shook, but she held onto the hem of her gown as though it could hold her upright. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking but still firm. "I am telling the truth." But no one answered. Some shook their heads, others smirked. Ngozi folded her arms with triumph. Amarachi stood tall, her gown gleaming under the lights. And there stood Chinwe, alone, humiliated, yet unbroken, lifting her chin just enough to keep her dignity from collapsing. Upstairs in the private office of Royal Threads Group, Obinna Nwankwo stood by the tall glass window, watching the tiny figures moving below in Presentation Hall B. His phone buzzed. "Sir," came the urgent voice of Mr. Chidi, his loyal assistant. "The young woman you mentioned. She's being accused. They're saying she stole Amarachi's design." Obinna's jaw tightened. He could almost see Chinwe standing alone under the hot lights, her voice drowned by mockery. His heart clenched, not just with anger, but with a fierce protectiveness he didn't fully understand. For a moment he considered storming down and revealing himself, but then he stopped. No one here knew he was the true CEO, not even Chinwe. If he entered as himself, they would think he was biased. Her truth would be overshadowed by his power. So he turned to Mr. Chidi. "Come with me," he said quietly. "You will act as CEO. I'll stand behind you as your aide." Moments later, the heavy doors of the hall opened. The room fell into silence as staff hurried to make way. Mr. Chidi walked in calmly, authority radiating from his posture. Obinna followed 2 steps behind, hands folded, his expression neutral, like an ordinary assistant. "Good afternoon," Mr. Chidi said into the microphone, his voice firm yet measured. "I am here on behalf of the management of Royal Threads. We will handle this clearly and fairly." He turned to Amarachi first. "Tell us about your design, your process, your sketches, your notes. Why this fabric? Where are your patterns?" Amarachi's polished smile faltered. My team handled those parts," she stammered. I selected the best options. It is obvious from the gown itself." A murmur moved through the hall. Eyes shifted uneasily. Mr. Chidi nodded slowly. "Thank you." Then he turned to Chinwe. "Now you." Chinwe stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly as she lifted her folder. At first her voice shook, but as she spoke of her work, it steadied. "I started with a pencil sketch," she explained. "I wanted a gown that gave women a fitted waist without discomfort after eating. So I placed the darts a little higher. I left 2 centimeter seam allowance for adjustment. I shaped the waist with a gentle curve to make it flattering, but still free." A few chuckles of understanding rose from the audience. She continued, her eyes bright with conviction. "I tested it with cotton first, then adjusted the grain line so the fabric would fall straight. I chose this blend because it holds heat, but still moves with the body. My timestamps are here in my notebook and online posts. I even have a customer who tried the early sample at my stall." The hall grew still. Even the loud Barry set his golden straw down. "It," Mr. Chidi ordered. "Check the timestamps from her online posts. HR, find the customer witness. Stage team. Photograph both gowns, seams, darts, zippers. Compare." Staff hurried into action. Phones rang. Cameras flashed. The tension was thick, but now it was no longer one girl's word against power. It was a test of truth against deceit. From the back of the hall, Obinna watched Chinwe closely. She stood with her chin lifted, not high but just enough to keep her dignity. Her courage, even in humiliation, made his chest tighten. This was no ordinary girl. This was someone rare. The hall buzzed with tension as staff hurried in and out. Phones rang, papers rustled, cameras flashed at the gowns. All eyes darted between Amarachi Okoye, polished but stiff, and Chinwe Okafor standing quietly with her folder clutched against her chest. Minutes felt like hours. Then a staff member rushed back, tablet in hand. She bowed slightly to Mr. Chidi. "Sir, we pulled Miss Chinwe's online posts. They are time-stamped a full week before Amarachi's submission. The sketches and progress photos match her folder exactly." Gasps rippled through the room. Amarachi's smile froze. Another staffer entered, slightly breathless. "Sir, we reached a customer who tried Miss Chinwe's early sample 2 weeks ago. She described the same waist curve and fabric choice. It matches." A hush fell. The evidence was undeniable. Mr. Chidi turned, his voice calm but cutting through the silence. "Amarachi, do you have any sketches, pattern notes, or proof of process?" Amarachi's eyes flickered to her assistants. They looked at the floor, silent. Her lips parted, but no words came. The silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. Murmurs spread across the hall. Shock, whispers of disappointment, even shame. The same people who mocked Chinwe moments earlier now avoided Amarachi's gaze. Mr. Chidi faced the crowd. "This matter is clear. The design belongs to Miss Chinwe Okafor." His voice carried the weight of final judgment. For the first time since stepping into the hall, Chinwe allowed herself a deep breath. Her shoulders relaxed slightly, though her eyes were damp. She had stood against humiliation, ridicule, and power, and truth had carried her through. In the front row, Ngozi sank into her chair, her proud smirk gone. Barry fiddled with his watch, avoiding eye contact, and Amarachi, stripped of her polished confidence, stood trembling in silence. From the back of the hall, Obinna watched quietly, still playing the role of aide. His heart swelled as he looked at Chinwe, a woman who had defended his grandmother with fearless respect and now defended her own dignity with grace. He saw in her the strength his empire needed, the heart his world lacked. The judges nodded, their notes firm. The audience's murmurs softened into a wave of respect. Chinwe hadn't just defended her design, she had proven that truth, no matter how small, can silence the loudest lies. and though the spotlight burned hot on her skin, Chinwe stood taller than ever,